Hello, friends. Welcome to Lucifer Talks, and I'm here, Danny. And today we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Jerry Wang. He's the Director, International Advisement of.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Lucifer Talks, and I'm here, Danny.
Yeah. So there's Mr. Dr. Jerry Wang is the Director of University of Prince Edward Island. He's with us. तो आज हम बात करेंगे जेरी वोंग जी के साथ में जो हैं यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड के डायरेक्टर इंटरनेशनल एडवाइसमेंट। ये एक बहुत ही सुलझे समझदार व्यक्ति हैं और मेरे बहुत अच्छे मित्र हैं। हमने सोचा कि आज हम अपने व्यूअर्स को बताएंगे कि यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड कितनी अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी है। So I'm counting on Jerry. He's a wonderful person, a good friend, a good colleague in the industry. And I want the viewers to actually learn about the university and what it offers to international students. It's a wonderful place to go. And I want you to hear from Jerry himself. So welcome here, Jerry.
Great.
And yeah, so our
Thank
first
you.
question for you, Jerry, is
Sure.
before we jump into the discussion on University of Prince Edward Island, please tell our viewers about your own academic journey as an international student.
Yes, actually, it's a long starting from many years ago. First of all, I'm so happy to be here with you and our friends in different places. I'm sure we have quite a few friends from India. So Danny, yes, you're a good friend, a good colleague, and I'm very honored to be able to share some information with the UPI about you. So myself, I moved to Canada actually from the US. So the university I graduated from, it's called the UIUC. So that's a short for University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. So it's one of the, I think it's called a Big Ten. Michigan, Iowa, UPI, UIUC, so different universities. So that was many years ago. I was an international student at the UIUC, then finished my study. And then after I finished my study at the UIUC, I worked for 1 year in the international office at that university. And everybody probably know about the OPT in the US. So I was one of the OPT recipient. Anyway, so after working there for a year, I have some friends who live here in Canada. So I got to know more about the immigration, the quality of life, the differences between US and Canada. And I felt that Canada is a greater place, the safety, the welcoming, multicultural. So, and then I moved to Canada. I worked for 1 year in Ottawa, so very close to the capital, Capitol Hill. And then after 1 year, so in 2006, an opportunity came open at a UPI, and then I moved all the way to the East Coast from Ottawa. So, and it's just hard to believe, time really flies. When I came here, I did have a lot of hair, but I don't have much now. So,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, cool. And what was your PhD in?
So my area of study is in education, where you and I, we all work in the higher education and environments. And my background is in, it's called EOL, so Educational Organization and Leadership. So basically it's about, so higher education, you have students, you have hardware, you have software, you have systems, you have finance, right? So people and things. So those are things. So my area is so organization leadership are basically about organizational culture, how students change in the higher education institutions, and I focused more because like my background, so I focused more on international education, so like a comparative studies, different systems, how students transition from the Asian system into a Western system, how students, like what are the things we should be, as educators, we should be careful about, how we can support students, which is pretty much in line with what I'm doing now.
Well, that's great. That's good to know. So tell our viewers that where is this university located and how many campuses do you have?
Do you mean UIUC or UPEI?
UPI. Yeah.
UPEI, so my current
Yeah.
employer, my
Yeah.
university.
That's right. Yeah.
So our university, so I moved to the East Coast. So the province is called the PEI, which stands for Prince Edward Island. So as the name suggests, it's an island. So it's all the way on the East Coast in the Atlantic Ocean, actually on the East Coast of Canada. You may or may not have heard about the province. The university is just University of PEI. It's actually the birthplace of a Canadian Confederation. So when we look at Canada, I mean, it's a huge country from coast to coast to coast. So East Coast to West Coast, all the way to the northern Arctic. But the country actually started in the little province of PEI 150, I forgot, 150 some 4 years ago. So many years ago. So this is where the founding fathers of Canada, they had a meeting in the province house, which is still here today. So they had a meeting here, and then they decided the country of Canada, you and I, including you and I, Danny, so we will be independent, not part of the UK, different from the US, and that's how Canada started. So when I go to big cities, I go to Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, a lot of people, they don't know much about Canada. I told them, I said, you should study a little more about our Canadian history. PEI is where our country was born.
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग सो देखिए दोस्तों अभी जेरी ने हमको बताया यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड कहाँ पर है और किस प्रोविंस में है एक नया रोचक तथ्य सामने उभर के आया कि कनाडा का जन्म जो है उसका फाउंडेशन जो है वो प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड में हुआ तो हिस्टोरिकली इट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सिटी इट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोविंस सो दिस इज अ न्यू लेसन व्हिच आई हैव आल्सो लर्नड so hopefully I will dig into the Canadian history and try to learn more. So Jerry, now you're associated with the Prince Edward Island University for almost 13 years, I'll say.
Yeah, over 13 years.
Over 13 years. So what keeps you going at this university?
As far as I'm still able to, yes. So the university, also just to take a step back a little bit, the university, because we are a smaller province, but like you said, it's a historical place. It's also a place that's really welcoming, and it's really a lot of good people. The people here are very friendly, very nice. And then there's only one university, that's us. So as the only university, there's a lot of interaction between the university and the province. So, the economic development policy, the university provides a lot of research for the provinces. So I feel like the University of PEI play a very important role in the growth of the province of PEI. As small as we are doing a lot of things. So I just feel like at the university, of course, a university, you have buildings, you have textbooks, but what's more important is you need to have people, including professors and students. And I think I'm able to help the university to attract international talents. We have students from more than 100 countries, and to help the students to come here to be successful, to get their degree, and then with a great immigration program, they come study and then they stay. I feel like I have played a very positive role in a lot of students' life, and that's what kept me going at the UPEI.
That's exciting. This is something which a lot of students want to know. Many of the students, especially international, they have heard about big cities, big towns, and provinces. But UPI is something which is very different for a lot of international students to look at as a destination. So we'll dig more on that. So, what do you think distinguishes Prince Edward Island University in comparison to other heavyweight public institutions in, let's say, Ontario or British Columbia?
Okay. Do I have a little more time to talk about this? Because I have quite a lot to say about this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are 2 points that I would like to mention. Before I touch on the 2 points, I would like to share a story with you. If you Google or on Facebook, nowadays we can easily find it. So I think it was probably 10 years ago or 8 years ago, quite a few years ago, I was helping a student. He was applying from Nairobi, from Kenya, but he's not a Kenyan. He's from India. His family is from the suburb of Delhi, and his name is Manush. Manush, I'm friends with him on Facebook. I can't remember his last name is a little bit long, but his first name is Manush, Manoj. So and he was a grade 12 student applying, and he said, "Oh, my parents are Indian ambassadors. They work in Nairobi. They work in Kenya." So I went to high school for a couple of years in India, but I came here to Kenya with my parents. I'm interested. I don't know where he learned about UPI. Anyway, so back and forth, and I could feel he's a good student. He was really motivated and very easy to work with, and I tried my best. So long story short, he came to UPI, and back then, 7, 8 years ago, we did not have nearly as many Indian students that we have. Probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 Indian students, but he's very motivated, and of course, he takes care of himself. But from the international service perspective, course registration, find a room, residence, joining all the clubs, all the different things. So I worked very closely with Manoj. And then what's happening now, because I see that on Facebook. He came to UPI. He studied business, specialization in accounting. He got his CFA. I think it's called a CFA, right? The finished, and then he worked for 1 year in the TD Bank here close to my university, close to UPI, and then now he's a manager of TD. Then he moved to St. John's, Newfoundland. He has a girlfriend, a Canadian girlfriend. I think they're married, I believe, because I see they're very, they have a house, and he's doing extremely well. When I'm looking at his Facebook pictures, I keep thinking about the time when he came to UPI, a grade 12 graduate, very young, very good student. And now he's so tall, so mature, and he's a contributing member of the Canadians. Of course, he's a Canadian now, he's an Indian Canadian. So I'm thinking, I think I played some role in his life. What distinguishes UP? This is only one of the stories. So because we are a smaller university, we only have like 5,000 students versus, I don't know, the U of T probably 70,000. It's humongous, right? So we are small, and every student, when we say it, we really mean it. Every student is a face to us. It's like a UPEI community member versus at the big university, you are a student and number. So each student is really important. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's a professor, sometimes it's a faculty admin member. So they would get close to somebody, and then they would form some bond. So they always find a community where they belong. So I think the students, even though it's not in big cities, but they feel like they are cared for, supported. So that's what distinguishes UPEI. And then the second point I would like to mention is, I don't know about, I've been to India many times, but I'm not quite sure about the trends nowadays. A lot of students talk about, oh, I want to go to the US or Canada, I want to go to big cities, big name schools, those kind of things. I want to emphasize, and Danny, you probably know this, in Canada, whether you are a big university in Toronto, Vancouver, or Wilfrid Laurier, or smaller universities in smaller cities that you have not heard of, I believe if you go to a public university, and then the quality of education is guaranteed. Why do I say that? Whether you go to UBC or Wilfrid Laurier or McGill or UPEI or Mount Allison or Acadia, across the Canadian higher education learnings, the quality is very similar. It's because one very simple reason. First, they're all publicly funded. Publicly funded meaning you have to be publicly accountable. So you have to make sure your programs, your professors, your facilities, the quality the students are getting, it's guaranteed. How do we guarantee that? If you look at, because now every single professors in a Canadian public university, your credentials is public. If I go to Wolfer Lawyer's website, I can say, oh, this accounting professor, he studied a bachelor, master, PhD somewhere. Oh, this U of T professor studied a bachelor, master, PhD. This UPI professor. If you look at the professor's credentials, it's very much similar. That's why when we're telling students, oh, in Canada, public universities across the country, we can let you know it's a high quality learning experience. We're not just saying it, it's true. But it's because we're close to the US, and the US has such a huge system, 4,700 higher learning from hair making all the way to Harvard, right? They're very different. And of course, there's some very pricey, very elite universities, but a lot of I spent 9 years in the US. A lot of the universities, I think they're not as good as Canadian universities, I can assure you. So in Canada, that's why we tell students, oh, don't think about the city or the ranking. They're commercial. But then you may ask me, then why? Why there's differences? It's because the community is different, the strength is different, the feature, the program is different. For example, if you ask me, oh, I want to go to UPI, I want to study architecture. We don't have that. Carleton has it, Waterloo may have it, or UBC. So different universities have different programs. Like if you say, oh, I want to go to UBI, I want to study video gaming or vet medicine. Yes, we have that. So every university, they have their highlights and specializations. So that's why I believe UPI, you have a good quality and also very affordable tuition being public. We will talk more about the tuition side. That's why I think, we have a lot of things to offer to our students. And of course, service side, we're pretty similar. And we try to offer the best services, either visa, study permit, work, immigration, and all the things. But every university, just like us, right? We're different in different ways, but we all have great things to contribute to our profession, to our institutions.
Very good. um, तो दोस्तों जेरी ने यहाँ पे बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट बात बताई और जेरी ने बताया कि कैसे यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड ज़रूर ये दूर है एक आइलैंड में बट स्टिल यूनिवर्सिटी बहुत बढ़िया काम कर रही है। तो यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड जो यूनिवर्सिटी है इसके अंदर भी क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन पे पूरा स्ट्रेस दिया जाता है। तो हर फैकल्टी मेंबर की क्वालिफिकेशन, हर एक की इंफॉर्मेशन जो है वो ऑनलाइन अवेलेबल है। पब्लिक सेक्टर इंस्टीट्यूशन होने की वजह से क्वालिटी के ऊपर हमेशा ध्यान दिया जाता है। तो आप अगर ये सोचते हो कि यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ टोरंटो में पढ़े हो या यूबीसी में पढ़े हो और यूपीआई के अंदर पढ़ो उसमें कोई डिफरेंस होगा, तो डिफरेंस नहीं है। क्वालिटी हमेशा मेंटेन होगी पब्लिक सेक्टर में। सो व्हेनेवर यू आर लुकिंग फॉर अ यूनिवर्सिटी, इफ इट्स अ पब्लिक सेक्टर यूनिवर्सिटी, a public undertaking, that is an institution you should go to, and you'll always be assured of the quality there because they are public universities and they are openly available in the public domain. So you can verify the facts, you have the figures in front of you, and your career, your education, everything is safe with a public institution because it comes with the support of the individual provinces. Because in Canada, education is held through the provinces, not a federal matter. So every province has its own standard of education act and how they run it. And Jerry has very well explained how UPI distinguishes from other institutions. And sometimes for international students, I personally feel if you are coming from Shanghai or Beijing or New Delhi or Mumbai, or you're coming from Nairobi, you've already lived in bigger cities. You already know the commotion and all. Maybe you need to go into smaller cities and reconnect with the nature, reconnect with people to people communication is something which is important. So look for an institution like UPI. So now,
Yeah,
Jerry, we move to our next question, and
sure.
that is, what is UPI famous for
Mhm.
as a university? And could you please share information about the top programs at the undergraduate level?
Sure. Thanks, Danny. So, generally speaking, across North America and actually across the world, our flagship program, like the most famous program at the UPEI. We call it a short ABC, so Atlantic Veterinary College. So ABC, but unfortunately, the ABC, the vet program, is not for high school students. It's for university students, for students who have taken university. It's like a medical school.
Right.
So it's just vet medicine, right? So that's our most famous program. But it's for students who have taken, like, the chem, the bio, anatomy, organic chemistry, stats, all the university level courses, and then you can apply to that. So that's the college. ABC has a lot of world famous professors, and they have some of the leading researchers, like in aquaculture, epidemiology, think about the bird flu, that kind of thing. A lot of researchers in that area. But if you are interested, then we have a pre-vet program. That's an undergrad level, and then you move on to the vet college. Other famous programs are students more popular with international students. Our engineering program, the UPEI engineering program, it's not very old. It's accredited by the Canadian Engineering Association or something. It's modeled after Harvey Mudd Engineering School. So if you search for it, Harvey Mudd is the most expensive engineering school in the US. It's somewhere in California. So the UPEI Engineering School is modeled after that, because we went there, we figured out how they set up the engineering programs, then we did that. It's a 4-year program, but it's very different. It's called Sustainable Design Engineering. So it's a lot of hands-on. There's 3 specializations, 3 clusters of programs in the engineering program. So sustainable energy, mechatronics, kind of bio related programs. So under these 3 clusters, there's a lot of precision agriculture, the storage and the redistribution of solar and power, that kind of thing. And then the next related will be like a food manufacturing. So because we are surrounded by water, so the engineering professors, they dive into the sea, they get something from the sea, then they extract something, then they make it into cosmetic additives, so that kind of thing. So I don't know the details, but I know they work on in those areas. So those are so it's different from like the chemical, mechanical, civil engineering, because it's not a one program. It's more of a common. You have to use different things. You need to learn how to program. You need to learn about the material science. You need to learn about the design. You need to learn about dynamics or fluid mechanics, different things. So it's more of a interdisciplinary engineering program. And because the program is very hands-on, each single course in the engineering program, you have to design something out. From 101 is the basic one, all the way to 4th year, you design some prototype for the industry. And of course, you will be paid for that. So that's why it's a very hands-on, it's a very intensive program, but it's very rewarding. And then they work with the Canadian aerospace industry to build something to put in space, all different kind of things. And they work with a big casino in upstate New York. Because in the casinos, there's big tables, they need to be redesigned. So they design that for New York. So different things. That's engineering, ABC. And then the next program, which I think is a very career-oriented and very beneficial to students, is the mathematical and computational science. As the name suggests, mathematical related to numbers, but more than numbers. Actuarial science. So if you want to be an actuary, you want to mathematical modeling, work for air industry, work for pension management. That's one area. The next is financial mathematics. So it's a math combined with finance. So if you want to be a financial analyst. And then the next kind of program will be number related. So big data, business analytics. Nowadays, every single place, even my office, your office, we need people who can analyze the data for us. And then along with that will be the computer science program, which is everybody has computer science. But in addition to computer science, so we have a video gaming design. So if you are good with like a graphics design, network security, and uh, the game design program. So those, but because numbers and the computer is related, so they are in the same college. We call it a mathematical and a computational science. So they work students in the program. So they have co-op. You probably our students know about co-op. In the US, they call it internship. Here we call it co-op. So co-op, they work with the banks, government, with insurance companies, predicting risks, that kind of thing. So of course, our business program similar. Like you guys have a very good business school. I know it's very good. Our business school, accounting, human resources, international tourism, hospitality, finance. They focus more on case studies. So all the students are required to take part in case study competitions. So theoretical learning, then you take part in some case study competitions. So these programs, I think, are the highlights of our programs, and they're also pretty popular with international students.
ठीक, तो दोस्तों जेरी ने अभी हमें बताया कि कौन-कौन से प्रोग्राम यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर बहुत फ़ेमस, बहुत पॉपुलर हैं। तो मुझे जो समझ आई है उसमें मुझे लगता है कि ये यूनिवर्सिटी हर उस स्टूडेंट के लिए अच्छी है, जो साइंस स्ट्रीम के अंदर जाना चाहते हैं, रिसर्च के अंदर जाना चाहते हैं, अ, जो फूड टेक्नोलॉजी के अंदर जाना चाहते हैं। तो दे आर वेरी यूनिक काइंड ऑफ प्रोग्राम्स। तो ये यूनिवर्सिटी ऐसी नहीं है कि जो रेगुलर प्रोग्राम करा रही हो कि हर दूसरा इंस्टीट्यूशन करा रहा है तो वही करा रहा है। बट यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड ने ये नीश मार्केट को कैटर करने वाले प्रोग्राम्स ऑफर करती है, जिसके थ्रू आपका करियर ग्रोथ वो गारंटीड है एज़ लॉन्ग एज़ कि ये जो स्टूडेंट अपनी मेहनत करे। तो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल इज़ दे हैव प्रोग्राम्स फॉर यू। The programs are very unique. They cater to the niche market, and if students are focused, they continue their studies and complete it in time and do it well. I'm sure the degree from this university will lead them forward to really better prospects. So look into the programs offered by UPI, connect with Jerry and his team. They'll help you out to decide which career path, which program would be best suited for you. So now we move to the next question, Jerry, and a lot of students, and I'm just getting some questions also here. They're asking, does the university accept international students for the master's program?
Mhm. Yes, yeah. So I talked a lot about the undergrad programs, and for master's program, see that's another difference between a smaller university and probably a bigger one like your university or even the bigger ones. So we have I think 100 bachelor degrees, but we have a smaller number of master degrees. The master degree program, some PhD, some master degree programs. I think 8 or 9. So not a whole range of master degrees, but we do have some. So the few that I can, off the top of my head. So education, MBA, EMBA business program, biology, chemistry, engineering master degree, and then vet science and environmental science. So these are the main master degree programs. Of course, if you have a bachelor degree in the same or similar area of studies, so then you can apply to the master degrees. Yeah. So see, that's why we're smaller. We don't have 100 master degrees. The 6, 7, this small number of master degree programs, we do accept international students, but it's a little different. So some of the master degrees you can just apply to the programs. Like education, MBA, you don't need a supervisor predetermined. But the other programs like environmental, engineering, vet science, biology, chemistry, you do need to approach a potential supervisor to have the supervisor who will agree to work with you on your research area before you apply. So it's a little bit different.
Okay. I just see another question popping up on my screen, and it says that do you need GMAT for MBA admissions, or it's a possibility of waive off GMAT?
Yeah, there's a possibility. I talked to my colleagues who work in the MBA, EMBA program quite often. So if you go to the website, it says GMAT is recommended, but it's not a mandatory. It's not absolutely required. If you finish your university and you have, I think, probably 2 or 3 years working experience, and what's more important, if your undergraduate GPA, according to the Canadian standard, if your GPA is 80% or higher, and then they will waive the GMAT requirement. If you have lower, if you have a lower GPA, then you just need to prove you are academically capable, right? They will need you. But if your results from India are really good, I know the grading system in India is a little different from the system here, but we can convert that. So if you have high GPA, then no, it's not required.
Okay. And for other science-related programs, you ask for GRE?
No. No, just your IELTS, your IELTS or TOEFL, which is IELTS 7, TOEFL 90, and then your bachelor degree documents. That's okay. No, we don't.
Okay. तो दोस्तों MBA करना हो आपने, EMBA करना हो, आपकी अगर परसेंटेज अच्छी है तो आपको GMAT देने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। आपको रिकमेंडेड किया गया GMAT का, बट अगर आप प्रूव कर सकते हो कि एकेडमिकली आप स्ट्रांग रहे हो, देन दे प्रोबब्ली विल वेव ऑफ। तो वो आपको GMAT के लिए कंपल्शन नहीं करते। और बाकी जो भी हमारे पास दूसरे मास्टर्स डिग्री हैं, उसके लिए GRE की ऐसी कोई रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है। Jerry, as you know, we have traveled, we have seen people, we have discussed with a lot of international students, and you know this thing very well that international students are cost sensitive.
Yes.
Many of the parents, because in Asia, Africa, and Middle East, some of these places, it's the parents who are deciding where this child will go to further studies, right? It's not the decision maker, is not the student, it's the parents. So the parents always want to know eagerly that how affordable is it to study at University of Prince Edward Island?
So before I talk about the cost, I like to reiterate, I like to emphasize that across Canada, public universities, you can get a guaranteed quality of education. So because I don't want the students or parents to think that, oh, I'm paying very low tuition, so maybe the quality is not good. So that's wrong in Canada. So generally speaking, and I think probably students, parents, and if you search online easily, you find it. It's all public information. So if you compare the country, the UK, Australia, the US, I don't know, Germany, different places. Generally speaking, across Canada, average tuition and the fees in Canada is about half of that, or 1/3 of the tuition fees in Australia, US, and the UK. It's because of the public nature. So that's the first. So average. But then within Canada, there are some differences. Like if you search online, U of T, I think U of T this year, they increased to 55,000 or something. So within Canada, there are some differences. So some universities are more expensive, some universities less. The next thing I want to talk about, Canadian, like you mentioned, Danny, it's a provincially jurisdiction model, right? We are financially supported by our provinces. So the Ontario universities, you are supported mainly by the Ontario provincial government. PEI, University PEI, we are supported by the PEI. Of course, we get student tuition, but we also get a large proportion of funding from the provincial government. There's only one university in PEI, so that means the university part of the funding goes to UPEI. If you have 28 universities in Ontario, the government, as big as it is, it would divide the money into 27, and you have to be fair, right? Who gets what? It's very political. So we are the only university, the only public university, the only publicly funded university. That's why tuition at the UPEI it's pretty low. I think it's very affordable. So we tell students about 14,000 for 1 year, and that already includes your tuition and also your fees. So we tell students ask, oh, how much is an UPI? I said 14 Canadian or 10 US, because US Canadian is about 1 to 1.38 something. So it's about 14K Canadian, about 10K US. So that's a 1 year tuition and fees at UPI. On that note, Danny, but if I can make a few comments about the university and the college differences in Canada. I understand because I look at the CIC, citizenship and immigration, the stats on Indian students' visas in Canada. It seems to me, at least in the past couple of years, we have a lot of students from India who would go to, like you said, community college or junior college. So those are 2 year. So if you go to a college, so the basic concept here, I think my observation is, if you go to university, it's more academically oriented. Academic meaning you have to do critical thinking, solve problems, independent, do a lot of it, your self-study. So mainly you have to use a lot of your brains versus community college. Nothing wrong with the community college, but a college is mainly you have to listen, you have to take orders, and then you don't need to do critical thinking. You just need to learn, okay, this is a bookkeeping versus accounting is different, right? Or, oh, this is LPN versus a Bachelor of Nursing. This is engineering diploma program. You just find, oh, this is instructions, so I put this here, put this here. Colleges, you don't need to use much of your brain, but you need to find out what you are told to do. So these are and there's nothing wrong. College graduates, they also find a job, they can have a good life. But if you are academically oriented, I really think university gives you more opportunities to grow academically. Then you think about you know how to solve problems, versus college, people tell you how to do it and then you just do it. So that's the difference. So even though we have a low tuition, I think our tuition is probably lower than some of the colleges tuition fees, but still we are academically focused.
तो या दोस्तों, आपने अभी सुना जेरी ने बताया कि ट्यूशन फीस के बारे में, और जैसे आप जानना चाहते हैं कि अफोर्डेबल है या नहीं, तो मैं कहूँगा कि ये यूनिवर्सिटी जहाँ पे आपको क्वालिटी एजुकेशन मिलती है, जहाँ पे आप ग्रेजुएट होंगे 4 साल की 4 ईयर बैचलर्स डिग्री के साथ में, जिसके साथ आपके पास अपॉर्च्युनिटी है इन फ्यूचर। अगर आप मास्टर्स डिग्री करना चाहते हैं, तो आप मास्टर्स के लिए भी एलिजिबल हैं। और जब आप बैचलर्स डिग्री के साथ ग्रेजुएट होते हो, तो आपके इमिग्रेशन प्रॉस्पेक्ट्स के अंदर भी आपको पॉइंट्स ज़्यादा मिलते हैं इन कंपैरिजन टू कम्युनिटी कॉलेज। जेरी ने ये बात बहुत अच्छे से बताई कि कम्युनिटी कॉलेजेस में कैसे क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग के ऊपर काम नहीं किया जाता, आप अपना सोच-विचार के ऊपर काम नहीं करते हो, बेसिक इंस्ट्रक्शन फ़ॉलो करके। तो जो लोग बहुत हैंड्स ऑन हैं, अगर आप प्लम्बर बनना चाहते हैं, तो ठीक है, आप
Yeah.
कम्युनिटी कॉलेज चले जाइए। आप इलेक्ट्रीशियन बनना चाहते हैं, कम्युनिटी कॉलेज जाइए। अगर आप रिसर्च फ़ोकस्ड माइंड रखते हो, आप करियर ग्रोथ चाहते हो, अगर आप पीएचडी लेना चाहते हो, तो यूनिवर्सिटी ही एक बेटर ऑप्शन है। अब क्योंकि यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड प्रोविंशियल गवर्नमेंट के अंडर आता है, दे गेट अ लॉट ऑफ फंडिंग, तो वो फंडिंग की वजह से उन्होंने अपनी एजुकेशन को सब्सिडाइज किया हुआ है। लोअर फीस का मतलब ये नहीं है कि क्वालिटी में कमी है। क्वालिटी, क्योंकि वो पब्लिक इंस्टीट्यूशन है, वो यूनिवर्सिटी हमेशा मेंटेन करेगी। बट बिकॉज़ कि प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड के अंदर सिर्फ एक ही यूनिवर्सिटी है, तो उनको सब फंड्स मिलते हैं, उसकी वजह से आपकी फीस कम है। तो इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट्स जिनको ये लगता है कि यूनिवर्सिटी जाना उनके लिए एक्सपेंसिव है और वो अफोर्ड नहीं कर पाएँगे, उनको यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ प्रिंस एडवर्ड आइलैंड की तरफ देखना चाहिए, क्योंकि यहाँ पर आपकी ईयरली ट्यूशन फी $14,000 है, और जो ओंटारियो और कुछ और प्रोविंसेस के कम्युनिटी कॉलेज प्रोग्राम से भी कम है। तो if you can get a degree from a public university at that cost, and it's coming from an institution like UPIE, so you should look at the programs, because you are paying less than what you will pay to a community college in Ontario or BC or other province, even less than what you will pay to private institutions in some of the provinces. So if you are focused towards a long-term career, look at UPIE and its programs, and you will succeed in future. There's a question here, Jerry, and they're asking, like in Ontario, if you complete a master's degree program from
Mhm,
an Ontario Public University, you get preference under Ontario Provincial Nominee Program. Does
mhm.
something like that is available in PEI also?
So now we are talking about the exit options. You come, you get the visa, you come to study. Then what? What's your exit plan, right? So I assume most students would know about Canada has a federal government express entry. That's a federal immigration program for students, for international students. So on top, in addition to the federal government immigration plan, each province will also have its provincial plans for students. Manitoba has something, BC has something, Ontario has something like the immigration for master PhD students. That's a good plan. On the east coast of Canada, so PEI, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. So we have another plan. It's called the AIPP. So AIPP stands for Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. That's for students who finish either master or bachelor degrees. They come. It's not automatic. So you come, but the only condition is if you find a job. You don't need to work. You don't need a working experience. So you come study your master, I don't know, your MBA, your master of engineering, whatever, or bachelor of kinesiology or whatever. So you finish, then after you get a job offer, it's a full-time job, of course, and then you apply for um, the PNP is called a provincial nominee program for students. So you apply for the immigration nominee right after you get an offer. So we do not have the automatic program like either U of T or Wilfrid Laurier. You guys, the master degree students, you can apply for that. But having said that, there's also challenges, right? We all know in Ontario, most of the international students, they would choose Ontario, RBC University. These are the two provinces with most international students. There's also a lot of competition. It's not as if everybody who gets a master, bachelor, a PhD degree will be nominated for the provincial. We all know every year, as soon as the online program is open, everybody's sitting in front of the computer. I talked to many students who were in line, who were not able to apply to the master PhD program after graduate. I guess, of course, is it possible in Ontario? Yeah, of course, it's a good program. It's a good program if you are able to apply and be successful in it. But in PEI, we do not have that, but it's a different stream. So every province has its own advantages.
Very well said, Jerry. Uh, for the viewers here, I'm not going to get into the detail on immigration aspects. Jerry has mentioned them. I will recommend you to go on the website. तो आप website पे जाओ, Government of Canada की cic.gc.ca पे. Go
Mhm.
to the provincial website. You'll get more information about that there. अब जेरी ने ये बहुत पॉइंट बहुत अच्छा बताया कि ओंटारियो में ये स्कीम है, but not everyone is eligible or not everyone is able to apply through those graduate streams. So sometimes कुछ चीज़ें बहुत आसान लगती हैं पर वो होती नहीं है, तो आपको अपने लिए बैकअप प्लान्स रखने बहुत ज़रूरी हैं कि एज टू व्हाट यू गोना डू, व्हाट्स द नेक्स्ट स्टेप, हाउ यू गोना सक्सीड. So all that is dependent on you. Many international students, they feel that once they have done their bachelor's degree or master's degree, they are going to be given a Canadian permanent resident card on a platter and be said, welcome to Canada, you have graduated, here's your PR.
Yeah.
A lot of agents, they sell this idea of Canada. Many parents always have reached out to us and they said, so my child is already studying at your university, so when is he getting his PR? So
No.
like, oh, he's just in the first year. No one can guarantee permanent residence. But yes, you've taken the right step. You have entered the country. You are educating yourself. Once you graduate, you'll gain 1 year of full-time work experience. Then
Mhm.
you become eligible to apply. So becoming eligible to apply and getting a permanent residence is a different thing. So people need to have realistic expectations, right? That's
Exactly.
something they need to look at. So तो अगर आपको आपका एजेंट कहता है कि कनाडा में स्टूडेंट वीज़ा लगते ही आपको पीआर मिल जाएगी, तो वो एजेंट आपको सही जानकारी नहीं दे रहा है। और परमानेंट रेज़िडेंस के लिए अगर आपने देखना है तो उसके लिए एंटायर प्रोसेस है, तो वो प्रोसेस को आपको फ़ॉलो करना पड़ेगा। So you need to follow all those steps and later on you'll succeed. So that's something you need to keep in mind. Jerry,
Agree.
yeah, thank you, Jerry. Jerry, these days, because of what's happening in US and what has happened even in Canada at certain places,
Mhm,
people around the world are worried about racial profiling, or
mhm,
they're worried about incidents taking place with people of visible minority, and they're like, is Canada a safe place? So that's a bigger question. Instead of
mhm,
us going into that, what steps has the university undertaken for ensuring equity, diversity, and inclusion
mhm,
for the visibly minority people on your campuses?
mhm. So, if we look at the general context, I mean, Danny, you and I, we're all immigrants to Canada, right? We all have our personal journey that we went through to become a Canadian. I think just to say a few words about the overall context. I think, the multicultural nature of the Canadian society and also the general national mentality in Canada, I think it's, of course, Canada has its problem. I'm not saying Canada is perfect, but overall, I think Canadians are more accepting, and they also recognize the value of multiculturalism. So that's why, we're not a mosaic. We're different from the US, right? So I think that's a Canadian strength. Of course, there's problems. Canada needs to work on that. That's why we are heavily promoting EDI, the equity, diversity, and inclusion. When I think most universities, including UPE, I'm sure at the Ontario universities, you have formal and informal ways to guarantee that students are treated equal, their rights are protected. If they have complaints, they have support services. So we have an office, HR office, and also EDI officer. If you feel like there are certain issues you want to talk to, you go to the office. But informally, we promote welcoming culture. We have lunch brown bags, and we have cross-cultural communications. We do workshops for the professors. So sometimes there might be miscommunications, right? The professors, they don't know the better way to communicate with students. They don't know the students' background. So you help them understand to become more inclusive. If there are issues, there's formal office, but generally the university. I mean, look at our president of UBI. He's originally from Cairo. He's from Egypt, but he has been here for, I don't know, 35 years. So I just think in Canada, if you choose to be a Canadian, which you and I did, then we chose to be a Canadian, and then you feel like you are the owner, one of the owners of the land. You have your rights,
Mhm.
and if there's injustice, you can fight injustice. So I just think this is the general overall, which is very different. Even though when two people in other places, you think, oh, Canada, it looks like a US. It's also very multicultural, a lot diverse, but the nature of the two countries, I think, are pretty different. So informal ways we promote, we have global nights at all the countries, students from, I don't know, like 30 countries, and they all showcase their culture. You tell people why you are different, what's the interesting, why certain things are done certain way, and then people understand you, and then it just becomes normal. Right? But if there are issues, and then there will be support services. Of course, there's the Human Rights Commission, and if you feel like you are not fairly treated, you can certainly go to the through that channel. And that's I'm sure Ontario PI across Canada is very similar.
Yeah, very well said. um, तो दोस्तों, जेरी ने अभी जो बताया इक्विटी डाइवर्सिटी के ऊपर, हम लोग इससे एग्री करते हैं कि कनाडा बहुत बड़ा कंट्री है, डाइवर्सिफाइड कंट्री है, कंट्री ऑफ मल्टीकल्चरलिज्म इसको कहा जाता है, कि पीपल फ्रॉम अराउंड द वर्ल्ड, दुनिया जहान से लोग आते हैं और कनाडा को अपना घर बनाते हैं। मैं भी यहाँ एज एन इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट आया, जेरी भी यहाँ पे एज ए इमिग्रेंट आए, और ये हम लोग यहाँ कैनेडियन बने और हमने कनाडा को एक्सेप्ट किया क्योंकि उसमें कुछ क्वालिटीज हैं। तो क्वालिटीज के साथ में कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स भी हो सकती हैं, पर उसको सॉल्व किया जा रहा है हर लेवल पे। इक्विटी डाइवर्सिटी के लिए काम कर रहे हैं ताकि किसी के साथ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन ना हो। तो rule of the land is there, so if you need you can go, and you can access all the facilities available to you, and you will be happy that you have chosen Canada as your destination. So Jerry, we are coming up towards the ending of this live chat here. One particular question which has come up is scholarships. Though your tuition fee is really low, but do you still offer scholarships to the students?
Yeah, we for sure.
And
Yeah, we do. So for Indian students, normally our scholarships, we don't need your big statement. We basically, the scholarships, I think each university is different. Our scholarship is mainly merit based. So it's just based on if you are applying from high school, the CBA was the central board, our state board and exam. We base the scholarship on your 5 high school subjects, or if you are applying from university, if you are transferring from a university or college, we base it on your GPA. Normally from high school, just to give students and parents an approximate idea, if your average is above 80 in the central board, in the our all Indian board, the exam, then that's the start of scholarships. So based on 80, 85, 90, our scholarships is from 1,000 to 3,000. So that will cut the tuition fees even lower. But of course, after you come here, you can work a part-time, full-time in the summer, and then you can get more other scholarships. So there's different kind of scholarships.
okay, that's great. Jerry, would you like to comment on the living cost in PEI in comparison to bigger cities? Like a lot of times people expect to spend a lot of money. I feel that opportunity cost is less in PEI. You're not spending a lot out of your pocket as an international student. What is the minimum wage of PEI if students are looking for that as well? How much are they going to pay for a rent, like when they rent a room? What are these costs? Can you tell a little bit about that?
hmm Yeah. So the main cost, I think, for international students mainly to be lodging, your room, and also your food, right? Basically, here, you have pay tuition, you live in a place, then you need a proper your meal plan. So the living cost here in PI, because it's a small place, so the rent is much lower. So let's see, for a two-bedroom apartment now, it has increased a little bit. Excuse me. Two-bedroom, I think, of course you can go very low or crazy if it's living a very fancy place. Just
Right.
for students, I think 8 to 9, no more than 900, and regular place if you have two rooms and a nice kitchen, laundry facility. So I think about 850, I think. So if you share an apartment with somebody, you pay around 450 a month. And then your transportation, because it's PI, Charlottetown is so small, really, you walk to most places. 10 minutes, you can walk to all places. It's a small mini place, but it's everything: mall, theater, airport, bars. If you want to go, to go to the shops, it has all the places. So meal food, I think I'm thinking about, like, even myself. I think a one person, I don't know, like $60 a week. I think, or 70. So 250, no more than 300 a month for food. So room, I don't know, 400 plus. Maybe your cell phone like 500. So 700, around 700 a month. And then in the summer, if you work a full time, then you can make the minimum wage you were asking. For now, the minimum wage is 11.75, so $11. But I think next month or next, very very soon, in a couple of months, the minimum wage will be $13 an hour.
Okay.
So the living
That,
cost pretty reasonable. Versus, if you go to Toronto and then you live closer to Toronto, you know how crazy Toronto, like a 2 bedroom, I don't know, maybe 2,700. It's a little expensive.
Mhm. This is something which is very crucial for international students, the cost of living and tuition and
Mhm.
all. So overall, UPAI seems a best option for a lot of students who are on a cash crunch also. And
Mhm.
not only that, I'll say those who are inclined towards quality programs in the sciences and the niche programs which UPI offers, they can look into the university for those program options. And the students who were inclined towards community college just because they didn't have the money to pay the high tuition of the universities in Ontario or BC, but actually really want to get an undergraduate degree, so they can
Mhm.
look into coming to University of Prince Edward Island and its programs. Looking at this, I think this is one of the best options. The university programs are great, and you have a wonderful person like Jerry as a director, advisement, who's there to help out the international students. So this is going to be a game changer for a lot of students. So try to look for the information on University of Prince Edward Island. Reach out to Jerry and his team,
Mhm.
and connect with him. Probably you will find that this was one of the best decisions you have ever taken. I'll thank Jerry now for giving us this time, and we were able to learn more about University of Prince Edward Island, and I feel very comfortable about the university, the programs, and the people behind it. So thank you, Jerry, for taking the time and sharing information with the viewers of this YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danny. I really appreciated your kindness and your friendship and also your support of the students. I think if you find the best fit, then that's the best choice for you. So I also want to thank the parents and the students. I know, it's a Saturday, and I appreciate you doing this, and also these students. And of course, if you are coming here, I will spare no efforts helping you and trying to meet your expectation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jerry. So we are
Thank
ending
you.
this live session now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.